Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the podcast, The Art of Business English, where we help people like you get the language skills that you need for doing business in English. This week I'll be sharing 14 commonly used verbs of communication that will help you express yourself better. Now, as you can imagine, speaking clearly and concisely is an incredibly important skill at work, as it saves time and will avoid making mistakes in your daily job. So, people don't really appreciate this. However, poor communication skills at work actually lead to lost productivity. They lead to mistakes. They lead to unnecessary emails, unnecessary phone calls, and they can really frustrate customers and suppliers and colleagues. So it's really important that you have a broad range of effective communication skills, that you have a broad range of vocabulary that you can use in English to help you express yourself better at work. So let's have a look today at my list and dive in and take a look at my list of 14 verbs for communicating. Okay, so the first on my list is to deny. The meaning of to deny is to say it isn't true. So for example, you could say, Jim denied taking a bribe from a supplier, even though the evidence was in front of him. Now, what's important to remember about denied is that it's denied followed by a gerund. So structure is also very important. Okay, so you can deny something. I denied taking or denied stealing. And it's also often commonly used with the present perfect tense. So denied having stolen or having taken. So we need to even put the auxiliary verb have into gerund as well with this structure. Okay, another one that's really important is to clarify. And that is to explain or make easier to understand. Okay, so an example would be, before we go any further, I would like to clarify by saying that I did not do anything illegal or against company policy. So that's a formal way, to clarify with maybe in the media. If you're working for a company, you would say, I would like to clarify I didn't do anything illegal or against company policy. Another important one is to refuse. And to refuse is basically to say that you will not do something. Okay, so here an example would be, why does Brian always refuse to arrive on time at meetings? It's a total lack of respect. So he refuses to do something. And what you'll see is that refuse is followed by an infinitive. So infinitives and gerunds are really important. I've done lots of lessons on them. However, knowing the correct gerund after a verb is really important, because if you don't use the gerund when you should, it makes your English sound less native. Okay, another one is to appeal. This is used often in a formal context, and you might hear, for example, something that's like, the police are appealing to the public for any witnesses to last week's hit and run where a driver was seriously injured. Okay, so they're appealing to the public for people who may witnessed that. So a witness is someone who saw what happened. Okay, so another one on my list is to reassure, and that basically means to say, to comfort, or remove worries. So if you reassure someone, what you're doing is you're speaking words that try and make them feel better, make them feel more comfortable, and remove worries. So an example might be here, the board of directors would like to reassure all shareholders that we would not allow the hostile takeover of our company. For example, a hostile takeover is when another company tries to gain control of your company through the purchase of more than a 50% stake of your company. And maybe that's not in the best interest of your company. So that's why it's called a hostile takeover bid, because it's not something that the board has welcomed. So if the board reassures investors and shareholders, they're trying to make them feel comfortable despite the situation where they're under threat from another company. And talking about threat, under threat, you can also use the verb to threaten. So this is basically to tell someone or to say to someone that you will harm them or you will cause them pain or you're going to cause them suffering. So if you threaten someone, this could be perceived as very negative in many cases. For example, Carlos's boss threatened to fire him if he continued to arrive late to work. Carlos keeps arriving late, so his boss makes a threat. He warns him that Carlos is in danger. He's in danger of being fired because he keeps arriving late for work. So another one, which is common, and it's also very good, and you can use it in business quite a lot, is to mislead. To mislead basically means to deceive someone intentionally, and this can happen a lot in business. For example, the company is being investigated by the Securities and Exchange Commission after misleading investors in its financial statements. Now, if you mislead investors in your financial statements, it means that you haven't really told the truth about the health of your company's financial position. So this is to mislead people. Maybe people think that your company is doing better than it is, so then they invest in your company. Maybe if they were told the truth or the information was clearer, they would decide not to invest in your company. So often people mislead others because they're trying to hide something. Okay, let's look at another one on my list of communicative verbs, and one is to release. And this means to make public. We often in business need to release information to the public, especially if our company is listed on the stock market. For example, the company's stock price fell more than 15% after it released poor financial results and missed analysts' expectations. When a company releases its quarterly statements, maybe the analysts were expecting them to make a profit of X and they didn't make a profit of X, so then the company loses money. However, often you'll see that when a company does make a big profit, they still lose money because, or their stock price still goes down because they didn't meet the analysts' expectations. It's like Google only made $1.2 billion this quarter and analysts expected them to make $1.3 billion. So now the stock price has gone down. Wow. Surprise, surprise. It's very strange the way the world works. Okay, let's look at another one. To withdraw, and that basically means to remove. So if you withdraw, you remove. So for example, we could say, we withdrew our offer to buy the company once we saw the true picture of its financial position. It was practically bankrupt. So if you withdraw your offer, it means you remove your offer to buy a company. Like maybe when you do your due diligence is what you need to do before you buy a company. It's when you do some research on the company, you investigate its books, and you make sure that it's in a good position to buy. And if you find that it's practically bankrupt, then you maybe decide not to buy the company. Okay, another one on my list is to put forward. And to put forward basically means to propose. So if you propose something, you are suggesting something. If you put forward something, you are suggesting something. So we use this often in a meeting. For example, you could say, I would like to put forward my name as head of the company social club. So if you put forward your name, it means that you are saying that I will like to be the director or the leader or the head of the company or the club in this case. If you put forward an idea, it means you suggest or make a suggestion. So you can use this verb to put forward in meetings quite often. To promote is the next one on my list. And to promote is very businessy because it's to publicize in order to sell. And if we don't promote our products, then we're not going to sell them. So we need to promote our products at the upcoming trade fair. Now, upcoming means it's in the future. So an upcoming trade fair, there is a good place to promote your product. Another verb of communication is to warn. And if you warn someone about something, you're saying that something is dangerous. So for example, I think I should all warn you that unless we can improve the company's bottom line, then we are going to have to close shop. Now, if we say close shop, it means we're going to have to close the company. And the bottom line is the reality, the numbers. So if you don't have a good bottom line, that means you're not making any profit. And if a company doesn't make profit, well, eventually it goes bankrupt and then you have to close shop. So that's another one, to warn. And that's actually the last one on my list, people. So thank you very much for joining me today. That brings us to the end of this week's episode. And I hope you found some value in my list of 14 verbs of communication. Next week, I'll be back with another episode. But in the meantime, if you like this episode, then please take 2 minutes of your time to share it with your friends and colleagues. And of course, you can always send me your questions. And I hope you keep on improving your English. So that is it for me. I'll see you all for another week, another episode next week of The Art of Business English. And we're coming up to our 4-year anniversary. where we'll be making a few little changes. So stay posted for that, and I'll be there for you all next week. So take care. Bye for now.